for us on the very first grand opening celebration of our church, which happened 3 years ago in our old church. And you're going to hear some things in this story that are going to remind you of what has happened in the last 3 years that God has done for us. And so this is a story called A Brief History of Sanctuary International, and we read this story on our grand opening 3 years ago. Now we're going to read it as we open up our new facility, and it went like this. It says, "We want to thank you for joining us all on this historic occasion, the grand opening of Sanctuary International Church of the Nazarene. Today is a joyous celebration because of the miracle of new life. Today is our date of birth, the day this baby church is born. We look back with wonder at the series of events that make today possible. Sanctuary International was born in the last few months as we have held sneak preview services and fun events like our outdoor movie night, our block party, and Candyland. Many of you first met us at one of those events or through our postcards and phone calls, and we are delighted that you are with us today. It seems like a miracle that we have made so many new friends, and for this we say,
thanks be to God.
Sanctuary International was born 6 months ago when we first began meeting in this building. By all rights, we shouldn't be in this building. We can't afford it. That's still true. But here we are. By all rights, we shouldn't have these chairs or this pulpit or the host of other furnishings that you see today. We can't afford them either. But God has miraculously provided for us. And for this we say,
thanks be to God.
Sanctuary International was born over the last year. As our launch team was formed, God whispered into the ears of his servants far and near, calling them to this adventure in faith. The Zarings from Eureka, Dan from Rock Island, Matt from Marseilles, and the Jacksons from Decatur have all responded in obedience, uprooting themselves to join us here. The way this team has been assembled has been a miracle, and for this we say,
thanks be to God.
Sanctuary International was born a year ago as Pastor Kaylin shared the vision for this church with sister churches all over Northwest Illinois. Pastors opened their pulpits to us, and congregations opened their schedules to us, and the people opened their hearts to this God-given dream. Prayer and financial support flowed generously our way. These much-needed resources were miraculously delivered, and for this we say,
thanks be to God.
Sanctuary International was born 18 months ago when Bloomington First Church of the Nazarene agreed to be our mother church, and when the Northwestern Illinois District Church of the Nazarene approved our plans. Pastor Scott and the board at Bloomington First freely shared people, time, money, meeting space, office support, publicity, and much more. This kind of generosity is unusual in the church. In fact, it's miraculous. And for this we say,
thanks be to God.
Sanctuary International was born 2 years ago when God gave Pastor Kaylin the vision and plans for our church. Looking back, we also see how God was preparing her for this ministry throughout her life, giving her experiences and skills that have shaped her to plant this church. Many of you will remember that we call that a Kachu story, a miraculous story in which God brings a person's gifts, passions, and dreams all together for his glory. And for this we say,
thanks be to God.
Sanctuary International was born about 4 years ago when Dr. Crawford Howe and other district leaders began dreaming about planting 28 new churches by 2008. Sanctuary International was born about 7 years ago when Pastor Scott and the Bloomington First congregation began dreaming about birthing a daughter church and praying for God to open doors for it to happen. These are miraculous dreams, miraculously coming true, and for these we say,
thanks be to God.
Sanctuary International was born before time began in the heart of God. Before you were born, God knew you and loved you. But he also knew that you would reject him and that we all would. Before time began, God planned a beautiful, amazing, sacrificial rescue for us to save us from the mess we make of our lives. Accepting that rescue is like being reborn. A miraculous, fresh start with God. Letting you know about that rescue is the reason Sanctuary International was born. So do you see, this church was born so you could be reborn. All of these miracles that brought Sanctuary International into being were for your benefit. They are an expression of God's love for you. And for this miracle we say,
thanks be to God.
And I say, thanks be to God for all of these beautiful children. Let's give them a hand for their help.